Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into today's video. You're probably wondering, what are these? So these are $1 million a month trophies. These are awards that we give out, in this case, to 3 different Inner Circle members that all had their first $1 million month in the month of December of 2024.
SaaS, okay? Not an info business, not a random high-ticket product or service, a SaaS business in this particular case. Got to the big $1 million a month. We love it when people hit those kind of numbers. So we give them trophies to celebrate such big accomplishments. For big accomplishments, we need big trophies, ladies and gentlemen. So I want to start this talk with a big round of applause for Daniel and List Kit for hitting $1 million a month. Give it up for them.
Thank you, sir.
We don't give a fuck about a couple $100K a month. What do we care about? $1 million months. And again, $1 million months are the entry. They're the gateway. They're the door. Okay? We think big in this group. We reward people here entering in to the upper echelons that 0.1% of businesses on earth achieve with $1 million a month awards. This represents the new floor for you guys. Okay? And I want to be clear. We are proud of that as a group. But listen, this is the new floor. You with me?
Yes.
All right, well, congratulations. Give them a big round of applause, everybody.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Of course, man.
Thanks, man.
Of course, man.
And because in our Inner Circle group, we do masterminds once every quarter. At the top of every quarter, our Q1 2025 mastermind is here this weekend in the middle of January. So we've got 3 different awards for the 3 different businesses that have hit their first $1 million months. It is incredible, obviously, to be able to hand out 3 trophies within a literal month of these people hitting revenue. Only one of them in particular was due to like the Black Friday seasonality. The rest of them had no impact or influx, I should say, of additional sales volume that came as a result of anything Q4 related. Technically, they actually had negative impacts as a result of Q4 for 2 out of 3 of these. And what we're going to do in today's video is just go through some of the best practices, some of the conversion mechanisms, some of the ad strategies that these different businesses were doing. Of course, at the actual Inner Circle Mastermind itself, each one of these individuals will be doing a talk in detail to the rest of the group, describing the intricacies of getting to the big $1 million months, what it took to get there from their perspective, what had to go into it, what worked, what didn't work, and they'll give a lot more detail than, of course, what I'll give to you for free here on YouTube. But regardless, you'll pull a lot of value from today's video. If you're new to the channel, all we do here is talk about hitting $1 million months. Welcome in. My name's Jeremy Haynes. Over the years, we've hit 40. This is number 38, 39, and 40 for taking clients to $1 million months. It's been a true pleasure, and all we talk about here on the channel are the lessons that we take as marketers from these businesses and hand them down to you to try to increase the probabilities that you might be one of the lucky 0.1% of businesses on earth that ever achieve such a statistic and a number. I just want to be clear real quick. If you are in any way, shape, or form pulling an income claim as though you can join any of my products and get to your $1 million months, you're mistaken, my friend. That is not my claim. That is not my promise to you. I want to be clear on the statistical probabilities. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics says you have a 0.1% probability to hit $10 million a year, let alone $12 million a year by hitting $1 million months, okay? Although, yes, we have taken 40 different clients to $1 million months. We've helped hundreds only get to a couple $100,000 a month. Do any of my products or this very video or any of my videos imply that you have any statistical probability to go out there and make money with this information? No, that is not what this information is used for. It's simply handing down the lessons and the perspective for myself as the agency owner and the marketer who works on behalf of these businesses and works with them and shares perspective as a consultant in some instances, and just handing down the lessons to you. Remember, you have a 99.99% chance to never hit $10 million a year. 0.1% of businesses exceed that number. So although yes, we have 3 different people in the Inner Circle in 1 month alone that are getting these trophies, and yes, there are over 15 different people in the Inner Circle now that do over $1 million a month, as high as almost $6 million a month. And yes, although the group average is $200,000 to $300,000 a month, and they're all actively trying to hit those goals too, that does not in any way, shape, or form endorse or try to make the claim that you are going to hit $1 million a month by joining into that program. It doesn't even make the claim that you're going to get to $200,000 to $300,000 a month, even though that's the current group average. You need to do your own research. You need to take in the statistical probabilities into account, and more more importantly than anything else, you gotta remember, it takes a lot of luck and positioning in order to hit these numbers, okay? Outside of all the tactics, strategies, risk that you've gotta take to get there, there's also a tremendous amount of kind of, simulation related, just lucks and probabilities that have to play in your favor to come even remotely close to these types of numbers. So anyway, this is all just perspective I'm sharing with you here today. Don't take it as an income claim. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's go through these 3 different businesses and their best practices. So business number 1 out of these 3 different businesses is an info business. We'll start down here at the end. So I'm not gonna give you the actual company who runs these different businesses. I won't tell you these individuals' names. That way I can be extremely detailed about these different businesses, and also to avoid you little copycat worms who have no original thought that are solely gonna go out and copy these businesses to the T. Fuck you. Anyway, business number 1. This is a coaching business. They have, in their particular case, 3 different products. They have a $5,000 drop sell, which is intended to help liquidate ad spend for unqualified people who come through the funnel, and they have 2 main products that they like to push. The $15,000 is their main product, and their $25,000, you can call it an upsell, but it's the same thing as the $15,000 offer, just with a lot more that's included with it, okay? So these are their 3 offers. The ratio, and this is very important to understand in terms of qualification ratios, they get in total about 75% of their leads per month that are qualified for the 2 main offers. They get about 25% that come through that are not financially qualified for the 15 or 25,000, and that they drop sell to the 5,000 to help liquidate ad spend. Business number 1 on a month-to-month basis, in this particular month, they're shooting for $1.5 million. They're gonna put up about $450,000 in ad spend in order to achieve that. However, for the month that they hit their $1 million month that we're talking about, which was the month of December, they spent about $300,000 on ad spend. Their total profit margin, give or take what time of the month you're looking at, because it's also important to note, in January, people who came in December technically buy, and do you then attribute that to January or do you attribute that to December? Depending on which side of the fence you're on for that argument will dictate what you consider their profit margin to be. If we solely look at December's profit margin for the amount that was spent and the amount that was returned within that same month from December's leads, they had a 34% profit margin. Now this specific business runs relatively lean. They have 1 marketer, and I'm a consultant on this specific deal, so they have 1 consultant. They have, actually, it's not that fair to say they have 1 marketer. They technically have 2. They have a Facebook marketer, and then they have a Google AdWords marketer. And both of those people individually also help with one another doing organic for the business, writing emails, just essentially for the organic half of their business, have the business owner themselves, it's like actively promoting stuff. They have an editing team for YouTube specifically and for their short form stuff on Reels, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, etc. So okay, again, 2 marketers that are actively spending money on Facebook and Google. Those are their 2 ad channels, by the way, in terms of where they're spending money are Facebook and then Google. And then in terms of the pie chart for how much comes from what, a majority of that comes from Facebook. I would say a little more than 75%, whereas a minority comes from Google. Google is a work in progress on this account. It will dominate through time, probably about a 50-50 eventually is the goal, to avoid being a one-legged stool. But that's kind of the catch-all of when you're scaling up a business to $1 million months. Do you wait to diversify the risk until you get to a 50-50 and then start scaling, or do you just scale the living shit out of what's working currently? And then as you go up, you're also trying to diversify risk and widen that pie chart so you avoid being a one-legged stool, which is a very important lesson. Okay, so back to the staff. Two marketers, 1 consultant. They have 2 editors in their business that are responsible for YouTube and all the shorts and everything like that. They have 1 COO. They obviously have the business owner themselves. This is not a business partnership. This is just a single business owner that also is the face of this specific business, like a personal brand representing the product. Okay, so 2 marketers, 1 consultant, 2 editors, 1 COO. Okay, they have 1 sales manager, and then they have the biggest department in the entire company is the sales team. They have about 4 setters, and give or take the time of the month, because they had a fluctuation throughout the month of December, they had 3 to 4 closers. They had a total of about 7 to 8 different salespeople. If you don't include the sales manager, about 8 or 9 altogether if you do include the sales manager. And that was as lean as they ran. Now in total, out of that $300,000 in ad spend, it was about another 200-ish thousand that went out towards payroll, and you got to factor out taxes on top of that. Okay, outside of this specific set of staff, which is like the revenue side of the staff, they also have 3 different coaches that are on the operational side of the business. These coaches are put on a combination of payroll and incentives based on the quantity of clients that they individually manage. Now, this specific business is in a great spot. They're in a scaling mindset currently. As I just talked about and inferred throughout my story, they're going from $1 million last month. They did about 1.1 million in total, to be clear. This month, they're shooting for 1.5. I make this video for you right now on the 16th of January. As of yesterday, when I spoke to them, they were at a little more than $700,000 in cash collected revenue so far. Usually with this business, and this is very important to understand as well, usually at the beginning of the month, they go a little slower. The middle of the month is when they really start to pick up momentum. And then the end of the month, they take their goals very seriously and they really start to vamp up and press hard on trying to hit the goal and the target for whatever they're shooting for revenue. So that specific business twice now, if you actually are a consistent viewer of any of my videos here, I've talked about them a few different times on the channel so far. I've mentioned things like, oh, we had a client that got to 948K, and then the following month they did like 952K. They were just shy of hitting their $1 million months. I've talked about some lessons on this channel from that specific business twice now. Well, good news is they finally hit it. So congratulations to them. I digress on my topic here. I'd like to continue on to business number 2 so I can continue dropping value on you guys and get through this rather quickly with you here today. So business number 2 is a little different. It is technically a SaaS business that also has a combination of an info product, but the info product is not the sell. It's a software that's technically the sell. It is an email deliverability business that will sell you on this concept of you need to go out there and you need to be cold emailing in order to generate clients and revenue. And as a result of you being sold on that idea, you then need software to help aid you in the process of scaled emails. And not only obviously do you need the software, but you also need a little bit of an info product to help you understand how to use the software and just how to think about the whole thing, best practices, different industry examples, things like this. So this particular business, this is actually really fun industry for these guys. There are several business partners in this niche. Without exaggeration, I think there's up to 5 of these guys that own this specific company. So unlike business number 1, there's technically 5 business owners that are splitting the pie of the net profit in this one. They all technically contribute individually with their own specialized skill set, and they do a great job when they work together. Their product ranges from a few $1,000s as low as about $1,200 all the way up to technically, I don't think there's necessarily a cap because it's based on usage. So if you send an excessive amount of emails, you could spend tens of thousands of dollars in the month with this specific business. Although to be fair to them, I would assume that their average customer, and this is again an assumption, is likely an AOV around $3,000, maybe at most $5,000 for the average high end of their customer demographic. Again, their low sell that they advertise as like an initial, like, hey, buy this amount of credits is about $1,200. And it includes that info product as well inside of that hard cost. Now, it's also important to note, both Business 1 and Business 2 are sold through salespeople. In Businesses 2 case, they also have the ability to check out online. It's not just limited to sales teams, although to be fair, a majority of the revenue in most high-ticket businesses will come through sales efforts. This first business that we talked about, they run a call funnel for the main conversion mechanism in their business, and it's actually a 2-step call funnel. Whereas business number 2 specifically, they run a combination of a few different conversion mechanisms in order to achieve that $1 million a month. They have a lot of organic presence, but a lot of that is from paid advertising. It's important to note, they probably got to about a few $100,000, like below 500,000 through organic exclusively, and then the other big chunk of that comes from paid advertising. This specific business is also looking to position themselves for an exit, whereas business number 1 does not have any intention of that. So business number 2, with all the founders having a chunk of the business, sure, they make good profit, maybe like 100-ish grand each if you look at their total net. Business number 2 specifically is going for a buyout. So that's where a lot of their windfall will come that makes all of the risk that they take as a business worth it. Business number 2, on average, will spend about $100,000 to upwards of $300,000 in a month, give or take the month. This specific business, for their $1 million month, spent about $300,000 in ad spend. It fluctuates, give or take, how well they're doing organically, how well the paid advertising efforts are going. There's a pretty wide fluctuation, it sounds like, in between 100 and 300,000, but you can rip up pretty quickly again to the top end of that range, and ideally they're continuing to scale. When I give these guys a trophy in particular, these guys are Inner Circle members exclusively, so I don't have as much involvement as I do in comparison to business number 1, where I'm a full-time consultant. Business number 2, I'll know much more details that I'll get the opportunity to see firsthand, share later on in future videos, and talk about with you guys. But for now, here's the main thing you gotta understand. They actively run 2 main conversion mechanisms: call funnels and webinars. Call funnels and webinars are routinely used inside of high-ticket businesses that hit $1 million months, and and they do it extremely well. These are also personal brands. All those different business partners that I talked about are extremely savvy with social media, but it's important to note they don't always put a singular face to the advertising efforts and the organic efforts that they push. They're advertising more as a SaaS product, so they advertise as a company. They do leverage a lot of different faces, whereas business number one has one singular personal brand that does a majority of the face. And then the name that's associated with that specific business. Now, it's important to note, business number two, this specific business, although yes, they hit $1 million a month, they're not gonna pace as fast as business number one. Business number one immediately risked a good chunk of the first $1 million month's profit back into advertising, about an extra $150,000 in ad spend. Business number two will continue to maintain at $1 million a month, but there's a higher probability that they'll grow slower, meaning they'll likely hit like 1.1 and then 1.2. Whereas business number one that we spoke about, they're going from 1.1 to 1.5 is the next goal, and they have an extremely high probability to do that. Could business number two do that as well? Absolutely, but they're just not reinvesting and risking as much. It's important to note that when you have that many business partners, one of the small kind of negative caveats of that situation is you put yourself in a position where, although yeah, you have 5 different people you got to split profit between, the profit that you do split, there's 5 different people, kind of like a council, that all collectively have to make a decision together. Whereas in business number one, there's just one guy who's like, dude, I'm trying to scale this thing to like 2 to 3 to 4 to $5 million months. I don't want to just sit around. These guys, they do want to pull more cash flow out of the business. So although yes, growth is still a prerogative, and yes, growth obviously matters for them being able to exit with a higher multiple and get more money out of what they're truly intending to do here for their cash event, these guys also care more about the cash flow, so they're not going to reinvest as much. That's an important note for when you're talking about future growth. Okay, let's look at business number 3. So business number 3 is a very interesting one. It is also an info product business, and business number 3 has a set of personal brands. So first thing is they have business partners. There's 2 of them in particular, and out of those 2 business partners, they are both the face of the personal brand side of the business. So they consistently advertise together, or in some instances individually inside of their ads. They are very good as personal brands. They articulate themselves very well, and they have like a backstory to their info product, meaning they have like a personal story that they can tell, that they consistently milk again and again and again in order to sell people into their specific model. Now their model ranges from anywhere from about $1,000 all the way up to about $8,000 for this specific product in terms of pricing. Now a lot of their AOVs typically end up more towards like the 5K to 7K range, but they can take less through payment plans or just through some drop sells that they have, or give or take the time of year. What created business number 3's $1 million month was Black Friday. So this specific business only had their $1 million month because of Black Friday and Cyber Monday, which, although yes, is a great accomplishment to hit that number, it's very probable that business number 3 is going to have a lot less consistency at staying above $1 million months, whereas business number 1 and business number 2, they'll stay up there. That should become their new floor. This business, they'll have to do a lot of reinvestment. And keep in mind, like the main reason that they were able to hit that number is they had a big pipeline of people that they discounted their product to. So they swept the entire pipeline out when they chose to run that discount. So they have to go through a phase again where they rebuild the entirety of their pipeline to try to hit those levels of income again. Now for their Black Friday Cyber Monday sale, if I'm not mistaken, they sold it through a webinar, through an email sequence, and in addition to that, there's a few salespeople that converted those sales as well. A lot of it was direct to checkout. And again, this specific business, although yes, huge accomplishment, they'll have typically in this case a one-off $1 million month. Their average months range from about low end 400K to as high as about 750K. So they're not that far off. However, this is also very important to note, a majority of their revenue comes from organic. So organic businesses don't have as much consistency or as much leverage to be able to consistently hit $1 million months because there's a lot of randomness involved in organic businesses. And that's one thing that I really don't like about being organic only. And this is one big reason that these guys joined into the inner circle. They wanted to be able to master paid advertising and have somebody like me there to be their phone a friend, their expert, the guy who teaches them exactly what to do and holds them accountable to actually do it. They've been in the group a good time just in the background learning. They've started to deploy some of our remarketing strategies like the Hammer Them sequence, which has helped tremendously with their call show rates since they're getting a lot of people that they're closing through the phones. So they're getting a lot of people onto the phones and they're experiencing a lot of success from leveraging the Hammer Them strategy. However, they've not yet ventured into cold paid advertising, let alone even warm remarketing to the existing organic lists that they've already built that they could also be converting. So this business will be taking on that initiative throughout Q1 here of 2025. There's a very high probability that obviously they'll be able to tack on that other couple $100K they need to start hitting their $1 million months. months. However, they're not doing that right now. A majority of their $1 million a month revenue that they're getting this very trophy for is a result of organic. So they were able to kick it up from about that 400 to 700K range to the little, and they were just a little over $1 million a month. If I'm not mistaken, they were literally like $50,000 over $1 million a month. So impressive, yes, but inconsistent, okay? These guys, they have a very high probability to enter into that bracket now of the 0.1% club. Well, they'll exceed the $10 million a year because they're leveraging both. Business number one is mainly paid advertising. A majority of their revenue, like a small, tiny minority, like 10% of their revenue comes from their organic stuff. That's mainly paid advertising business. Business number two is kind of like a half and half business. A lot of those 5 business partners I talked about have strong organic presences. Through time, to be very fair to business number two, they have successfully diminished their organic total percentage of revenue down and made paid advertising a majority. And hopefully that trend continues for them because again, that creates a lot more consistency for these businesses. Whereas business number 3, unfortunately for them, it's like literally damn near 99% of their revenue comes from their organic presence and them running this sale in particular. So although impressive, not gonna be as consistent. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed these 3 different lessons and got some perspective on what 3 different businesses out there have done to hit their $1 million months. We're gonna be presenting these 3 different trophies to these guys over this weekend at our Q1 Mastermind for our Inner Circle program. We do twice a month one-on-one calls to help guys like this, weekly group calls to help guys like this. We have our group chat on Telegram full of rich people trying to get a hell of a lot richer. Guys just like this, all 3 are in there. In addition to that, we also have our quarterly in-person masterminds, which again, we do January, April, July, and October right here at the Penthouse in good old Miami, Florida. So if you're interested, there's links down in the description, and we look forward to welcoming you in. There are income qualifications. We don't let any guppies in there. You gotta already be doing a good chunk of revenue because we don't want guppies and little small fries around people like this. We curate the group in a way, and this is very important to understand, not to sound disrespectful to the smaller guys watching this. This specific group, the Inner Circle, is for the rich guys that are trying to get a hell of a lot richer. Most of the people who are joining now are already doing a low couple $100,000 a month or a mid couple $100,000 a month trying to hit their $1 million months. That's important to understand. We have other products that are geared towards training marketers, like our Master Internet Marketing program, which is a great offer, very, very thorough, and will still put you on a tremendous amount of game just without the one-on-one help. We still do group live classes inside of that program. You buy access to Master Internet Marketing, you get access to it for the rest of your life, or the lifetime of the product, I should say. And yeah, I mean, anyway, I'd love to have you inside of one of our paid programs. That's ultimately where a lot of our attention goes. It's actually really fun. We had I was actually down at dinner just yesterday, and I was talking to one of the Master Internet Marketing students. He came up to me, his name's Kyrie. Shout out to Kyrie if you're watching this. He actually had a crazy backstory about when he bought the program in early December. He ended up doing really well financially with the product. He spent $5K on it. He made like $7,200 back within a week and a half. He ended up doing like $32,000 over the course of a month. It's important to note, like, we don't make any income claims of the product. We in no way, shape, or form endorse or advocate or tell you that you're gonna have an ROI as a result of buying any of our products. We don't sell them with an income claim, but of course, like, we're teaching marketing, we're teaching sales strategies, we're teaching tactics that all result, if you do the actions correctly, in ideally you making more money. But again, there is no income claim, there is no financial guarantee, there is no financial return that we promise. But anyway, Kyrie, to digress a little bit, did a tremendous job with taking action on the program. He had a cleaning business where he was teaching people through a coaching program how to go out there and start a cleaning business. And he gets people typically to like low tens of thousands of dollars a month for his offer. He does a tremendous job with it, but he needed to get loaded up on like new ad strategies he could take action on. And that's exactly what he did. He actually took action on one of our ad strategies called the Hydra just recently. I was grilling him when I was at dinner because I was telling him, I was like, you're getting $9 leads that are qualified and you're not calling them, you don't have a follow-up system. So anyway, there's an absolute fuckload of information inside of all of our offers that people get really good and consistent results with. Again, don't join in if you're specifically looking at it as like an income opportunity. It's not an income opportunity. We don't make any income claims with it. But anyway, without further ado, I'll end the video. Go check out some of the other videos on the channel if you're rich and trying to get a hell of a lot richer. They're all built for you. Every single video on my channel is dedicated to trying to pass down lessons on hitting $1 million months. I'm gonna go present these trophies to these guys, and I'll see you in another video.